Hello folks, I'm L.A. Little and this is your daily NeoTA Wrap. Where we take a look at these markets, we do it from a neoclassical perspective each time, asking ourselves what happened today and what does it tell us about the coming one. I do this show 4 times a week, every Monday through Thursday. It's broadcast at or before 10 o'clock Eastern Time. It's archived on YouTube under the channel L.A. Little. If you subscribe anytime I push content, you'll be notified. It's an easy way to keep up with everything that is recorded and published here on TA Today that's available outside of just membership material. As far as what happened today, well, it was a up day except for the Dow. The Dow is still struggling, and actually the Dow chart is probably the most interesting one right now. But it was an up day. We finally got that up day we were looking for yesterday. I suspect it's going to pull back, and it's kind of odd or maybe interesting how it's set up tonight and why I think that. As far as elsewhere, really not much. Pretty flat. Some selling in the gold, in the bonds, of course, they actually got a pullback. But outside of that, well, all reversed. All was up like 2% and reversed down about 2 or 3, and then eventually closed a little bit higher. So let's look at what's happening here with the way these indexes are set up. So I've got the S&P up first. If you look at the way this chart ran today, I mean, it's not a particularly pretty candle in the way it ended. In other words, your top was way up here, right? So you basically got up here and tried to test the top, and you did more volume. All that is positive. So you go up, you test with more volume. The only thing's bad about it is you got a long tail on the top side. That means the sellers won the battle by the end of the day. If you pull it back over though and you look at this, right, you're right back down into this big bar. You didn't stay over that big bar. All of that, is kind of a negative, kind of takes away some of the positiveness that you saw here. That's the S&P. I want to pull back though and pull up the Dow. The Dow is down here getting ready to try to break out the lows. Now, it already broke here, got the bounce, right? Was doing the retest regen. The Dow, even though it's 30 stocks, and a lot of this has to do with Apple because Apple moves this quite a bit now, but all it did was come up and do a test. After that, did an immediate bearish retest regen, and it's down here getting ready to try to break it out, right? It's going to try to regen lower. And if it does, that ABCD structure on this particular index is going to be pretty hefty, right? It's going to take you down a good piece. If we pull over the weekly and look at the weekly and think about it from that perspective, you've got a break here on this time frame already. And it's the first of the majors to do it. I don't pay as much, as you know, I don't pay as much attention to the Dow as I do some of the others, but, it's worth noting that you do have a break on this time frame, on the weekly time frame, as well as setting up and a potential to go after these 2 swing point lows down here. So that's the Dow. Moving over to the NASDAQ. The NASDAQ, the NDX, they all did more volume. They went up and tested to break down lows. They had a little bit more volume, but they finished with long tails. NDX looks the same way, went over it, back under it. And if we go to the Russell, the small caps actually closed down. The bears actually got the better half of this one. Went in and tested this bar, had a little bit more volume, but also failed on the test. If you look over in Europe, Asia, in those markets, you still have what looks like an attempt, at least in Europe, to try and bang it higher one more time. Here's France going after the swing point high, 51.84.74. You get over it, you stay over it. So you break a swing point high. The one over here is 51.93. You break that one as well. So you break 2 swing point highs. If you look at it on the weekly, the only thing up there now are the highs. And that high volume high is 52.69. So 52.69 is the number if it's going to make a little bit farther a run here. I suspect in the morning you're going to see it open and push higher, but then I also expect you're going to probably see it fail up there. The German DAX also pushing up. It's a bit of a laggard. It's pushing up just to test the swing point highs and to test into this big breakdown bar. 11,586 was the number on it. You close inside of it, so you're into the bar You're going to try to make a run for the swing point high, it looks like. If we look at over at Asia, Asia looks a little bit different. This Shanghai looks shaky. And it looks shaky in that this thing went over back under. You've got no volumes down here now. It tells me that most of the big monies ran from this market and it's not participating. And the little guys over there, even though there's a bunch of them, I don't think they're going to move it. They don't move enough stock. The low here is still 36.53. You know, if I draw that across for you, that 36.53, actually there's two bars. There's this one and the one up just slightly above it. You know, those are the two bars that if you get back under them and you stay under them, and we actually had one bar just get under it and we got right back over it. If you get under it, stay under it, you're going to try to do an ABCD structure on the downside, and if that's the case, it is going to break out these lows, and we may see a little bit of a panic if that starts to take place. Hong Kong. Now, this is the market I've been watching more carefully because, you know, I think it's given us a truer read right now. It's not the same, and it's going to move with the Shanghai if the Shanghai starts to, you know, tumble to the downside. But it's doing the same sort of thing. It's hanging at that same, well, it's a different bar, but it's the key bar in this chart, and it's hanging there and it doesn't want to give it up. If it gets into this bar, it's a long way down to the bottom. So Hang Seng also trying to hold it, and that looks a little bit shaky as well. The one that's strong, of course, is the Japanese, the topics. This guy, the Nikkei, is still up here and still hanging at the highs, and you still have depreciation taking place in the yen. If we move over back to the U.S. markets now, there wasn't a lot of information in the OX markets, but where you're going to see the information tonight is in the sectors. So let's take a look at the sectors because that's where the reads are, and I think those are the ones that are probably telling us what's going to happen next. So let's take a look at the IBB to start with. We've got over this breakdown bars high, right? A lot of volume up there. Nothing here. That looks like a failure. Looks like it wants to turn and come back. This has been a leading sector. IYT, transports. Now everybody got excited about the transports because they got back over the swing point low, right? The retest regen. And I've seen, you know, a lot of material about how the transports are coming back. There was this thing about, you know, these, and matter of fact, I think most of those drew it on the weekly. So if we pull the weekly up, you know, a lot of this stuff about the, you know, the not the triangle, but the downtrend line was broken and so forth. Yeah, all that's true, but that doesn't do anything to change what's really happening here, in that this is just sideways on the short-term time frame, and it's going to try to come back into the swing point low, and that's probably where it's going to fail again. If you take this high, that low, that's the range it's getting into. That's where it's going to have trouble. That's where it's already having trouble. So that's your IYT. So two charts so far, two charts that are not going to go hardly anywhere, it looks like. IBB going to try to reverse. IYT is about to run out of steam. Move to the SOX. SOX moves into the bottom of the swing point low, test into it, can't get into it even and stay into it. That looks like that one's going to try to go lower. And if those chips start to go lower again, we're going to have some problems there. XLB, swing point low here, 46.86. You got up to about 46.51. That didn't quite get to it. Yeah, it can get a little bit farther, but if it does, I suspect you're going to see the selling start to take place at that level. Financials. Financials try to push up into the highs low, doesn't have the volume, fails, reverses back down. Industrials. Industrials are pushing up. Now the industrials are kind of an interesting case in that they have gotten over the swing point lows high, which was here, right? And they stayed over for 2 bars, but they just couldn't do much more, and they've been wallowing around in that area now the whole time. Now there is an ABCD structure. If this thing can start to push higher, that would take it significantly higher and actually take it back up to the next swing point low test. I don't know that it's going to get there though. It just doesn't look like it's got the juice. But that's the industrials. That one's more of a question mark. It's not as clear cut as these others that we've already looked at. The XLK gets up into the gap area. This was the breakdown bar. Does have some volume. The bar it was pushing into had more volume though. It goes up almost to the top of it, fails there, it comes back down. That doesn't look like that one's going to go anywhere. Now the one that is the one that you would kind of expect right now, and that is we want something safe. We're going to move into dividend stocks, consumer staples, things that people are going to buy no matter what, or at least that's the theory. That one can certainly go higher. Utilities, also a safety sector, but they're hurt by the interest rate structure and they're not going anywhere either. Healthcare, another one of those cases where you could move into it for safety, and this particular stock or this ETF that covers the healthcare sector, it looks like it's going to try to test the tops. Finally, the discretionary, this has been a go-to sector. This gets to the top, it does fail, has more volume, but it's about equal to the last few days. They keep banging at it, but they can't get over it. This one also looks like it's going to retrace some. So when I go through each of the sectors and I look at those, it tells me we're probably going to see this market start heading back down the other way. Now, if you look out and ask yourself what's coming, you got the big employment number. You've got two central banks in the morning. I doubt they're going to cause any waves, but there are, there's central bank action in the morning with Japan and with Great Britain, and some more economic releases. Most of the earnings are about done. I don't think the earnings are going to move this market at this point. So it's coming down to economics now, and it's coming down more back to the technicals. So that's going to be the reads going forward. As far as tomorrow, maybe you get a push up, but after that, I suspect you're going to see it come back down. So that's it for tonight. I thank you for joining me. We'll see where she goes tomorrow, talk about it then, and after that, we'll see what the employment number does. Have a great one. Thanks. Take care. Good night.